Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Let's talk a little Jes Staley and Barclays, shall we? There's a report out saying that Jes Stakey will not have to worry about Sherborne and Bramson during this upcoming vote. And the reason is the Wuhan SARS outbreak and the pandemic that it has caused. Now, we know the reports that were coming out of Barclays before all of this was Staley was on his way out by 2021. I told you that timeline was going to be accelerated, and I still believe that timeline is going to be accelerated. Now, I think that what they're doing here, and I said it from the beginning of this pandemic, is they're going to set Staley up to take the fall. They're going to keep him in now, and then when it's time for heads to roll, after this all passes and they see the carnage from the Wuhan SARS outbreak, it's going to be an easy decision for the board to jump on board with Sherborne and Bramson and jettison Jes Stakey. I said before all of this started that I didn't think he'd make it through the summer, and I still don't think he's going to make it through the summer. I look for Jes Stakey to be voted out the second things stabilize in the market, or at least appear to be stabilized in the market, and there is a concise plan going forward to deal with COVID-19 financially as an industry with the bankers. Once they get to that point and they feel like there's a bit of stability, he's gone. Jes Stakey is finished. There's no way Bramson is not going to keep up the jihad. He wants nothing to do with Jes Stakey being part of this board. And from the conversations I've had in the last couple of days with some of my people in the financial sector, they all said the same thing. This man is being set up to be the scapegoat. He's definitely going to get the axe. He was going to get it before the COVID-19 outbreak, and now it's just a matter of when, not if. So we're going to jump into this article and see what The Guardian has to say about Jes Stakey and the upcoming vote at Barclays. The Guardian is the publication. The author is Kalina McCortoff. Headline: Barclays CEO avoids vote against re-election over Epstein ties. Sounds ominous, right? And they love to do that with the headlines. With the headline, you would think, oh man, they're just giving up. They're not going to vote against Jes Stakey to get him out of here. They don't care. But in reality, this is all just a smokescreen. Remember what I tell you folks all the time? We got to read between the lines. When we're reading these articles, we have to read between the lines. What are they trying to say without saying it? And that's the most important part when you're reading articles and you're going through the news, because it's not the actual message that they're putting out. It's the message that they're giving you in between the lines. Barclays chief executive Jes Stakey will avoid a potentially embarrassing vote against his re-election over his ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein after activist investor Ed Bramson eased up on demands for his removal in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. And again, that is the whole motivation behind this. They know getting rid of their CEO right now in a market that is so unstable will have disastrous results for them. And at the end of the day, let's remember, Barclays, all they're worried about is that bottom line. They're not good guys here, right? They're not trying to get rid of Staley because he's an evil guy and they don't agree with his behavior. No, it's all about optics, right? It's not because Barclays is this group of people who has this moral standard and Staley, didn't pass it. No, it's just because he was outed and the public knows, and it's about optics. So don't take this as if Barclays is some great group. They're not. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes an enemy of an enemy is my friend. And if Barclays is going to work towards getting rid of Staley, I'll support that decision, and then I'll go back to criticizing Barclays as a group directly after they make that decision. But as of now, all I want to see is Staley get the boot. Bramson called for Staley's removal last month, but on Thursday admitted the bank would need more time to replace the chief executive as it tried to deal with the more pressing challenge posed by the pandemic. And that's basic stuff in the financial sector, right? You want as much stability as you possibly can, even if that means that the person who is at the helm might be facing an investigation or two. What you want to do is make sure that the stability of the organization going forward is the most important part of what you have going on. And for that, they need to have some stability through this whole entire thing, right? But once this pandemic passes, wait and see, folks. Staley is so finished, it's not even funny. Bramson is... his whole entire motivation here is to get rid of Staley. He understands that with Staley at the helm, Barclays is never going to be as profitable as they would like. And with Sherborne holding so much of the stock, it is important, obviously, for them that this company, this bank, is turning a profit. They have investors they have to answer to as well. And if you were an investor in Sherborne and, you see this meeting coming up and you know that Bramson hates Staley and wants to get rid of him, as an investor in Sherborne, you're on board with that, right? You want Staley gone too. You don't want the stink of Jeffrey Epstein anywhere around your money. So it makes sense to get rid of Staley. But if you understand the financial markets and you understand how these things work, they never want to create more instability in a situation that is already unstable. So what you see here is Staley being propped up and being put out as the fall guy. Bramson, whose Sherborne Investors vehicle owns a stake of more than 5% in Barclays, said he was calling on Barclays shareholders to abstain from the vote, which is due before the bank's annual general meeting on May 7th. It is expected to take place via webcast due to physical distancing rules. Well, I wouldn't mind that if I was part of the group, because I wouldn't want to be in a room with any of these people. Let's not cut corners here. We all know the financial sector is filled with snakes and degenerates, right? And I'm sure the Barclays boardroom is no different. A letter sent by Bramson to Barclays shareholders said, "We continue to believe that Mr. Staley has not demonstrated the level of judgment befitting a director or senior executive of the company." Now remember, that's important because he's letting you know right off the bat that they still don't have confidence in Staley. Again, let's read between the lines. For them, who better to take the fall than Jes Stakey when this is all said and done? However, as a result of engagement with Barclays and in recognition of the complexity of the management situation presented during the COVID-19 pandemic, we will now, with great reluctance, only withhold our vote for Mr. Staley's reappointment at the 2020 AGM rather than vote against him. Again, folks, I know it sounds bad and you want to be like, oh, this goddamn Staley's not... Don't fall into that trap. This is all posturing, just like when I told you the board acted as if they had faith in him, and then we started seeing the reports from sources that the board does not have faith in him. It's the same situation here. They're putting him up as the fall guy. Bramson said fellow shareholders should push the Barclays board for a succession timetable. He added that Staley's eventual departure would bring an end to what has now degenerated into a series of public spectacles. And you see from the language here, Bramson is not letting up. But again, the most important thing to Bramson, and I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna slam him for this. It's his job to make sure that his shareholders are making money. I agree with how that works or don't agree with it. That's not the point here. The point is his job is to make sure that his people who have bought into his Sherborne vehicle, that they're making a profit. And in Bramson's mind, and in the mind of just about every speculator I've spoken to, with Jes Stakey at the helm, especially after this all calms down and the spotlight goes back on to the Jeffrey Epstein case, there's zero chance that Staley is going to be able to lead Barclays going forward in a profitable manner, especially trying to climb out of this COVID-19 hole. UK regulators are investigating whether Staley was sufficiently transparent about his relationship with Epstein, who died in prison in August 2019 while awaiting trial on charges of trafficking underage girls. Staley, who joined Barclays in 2015, has said he developed a relationship with Epstein in 2000 when he became the boss of JP Morgan's private bank, which counted Epstein among its wealthy customers. Again, I want a complete audit of JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, all of these banks that were involved with Epstein need to be audited under RICO statutes. Pretty simple, and that goes for Jes Stakey as well. We need to know exactly what Staley and Epstein were up to, if there were any deals being made on the side, how many bags of cash were being dropped off, all of it. If it was up to me, and I was in charge of this, I would have a team of 50 to 100 forensic accountants going crazy on this case. The Barclays boss said his relationship with Epstein tapered off after he left JP Morgan in 2013. What year was Jeffrey Epstein convicted again? How can you still hang out with Jeffrey Epstein after a conviction and then get the job as Barclays boss? Oh, I'll tell you how, because they really don't care in the financial sector. That's how. He made a final visit to Epstein's private Caribbean island with his wife in the final months of 2015. Again, what sort of scumbag brings their wife to go hang out with a sex offender? I would be mortified to introduce my wife or my girlfriend or my fiance to a sex offender and go hang out on his island. You have all the money in the world. I mean, literally, Jes Stakey is so goddamn rich that it's not even funny. But yet, he's still cavorting with Epstein. He still has to go to Epstein's island to hang out and have a vacation. Bro, buy your own island. Go rent one out. Why are you hanging out with a pedophile? The Epstein investigation comes less than 2 years after Staley was fined almost £650,000 for attempting to unmask a whistleblower at Barclays in 2016. Yeah, of course, that's how he rolls. He's just like his boy Epstein. All of these folks deal in intimidation. They all deal in tampering. They all deal in paying off witnesses. It's just their MO. That's how all of these sons of bitches operate, and it's disgusting to see. Barclays is backing its chief executive officer and said Staley retains the full confidence of the board and is being unanimously recommended for re-election at the AGM. It conducted its own review of Staley's relationship with Epstein and had concluded the chief executive had been sufficiently transparent with the company as regards the nature and extent of his relationship with Mr. Epstein. Talk about lip service. Wow, that is nothing more than to prop up the market. That comment there is nothing more than to prop up the market and to make sure that people have some confidence that the leadership isn't going to be rocked at Barclays. And in reality, I think that it's bad for Barclays to even go this route. When all is said and done, I am not going to forget the way Barclays has conducted themselves, how some members of the board still have full confidence in Staley. But now remember, the rumblings and the scuttlebutt around the table in the financial sector is the opposite. So I still stick to the belief that by the end of the summer, and maybe into the early fall, before we see Staley go. There's no way he makes it to 2021, zero chance. The second this pandemic starts to slow down and the second the banking market starts to stabilize even just a little bit, expect for Bramson to renew his calls and look to get rid of Jes Stakey in a hostile takeover. If you'd like to contact me, you could do that at Bobbycapucci at protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Also, remember, on Saturday, I will be joined by Lisa and Jen from the Prince and the Pervert podcast, which is based down in Australia. You certainly do not want to miss that one. All right, folks, until later on, I hope you all have a fantastic day.